You're live. I think I'm live. All right. Hello, all 5 people. Oh, Maria, how are you? Yeah, there's a little comment section, so you can say it there, so I don't feel so alone here, talking to my laptop. This is kind of an interesting thing. It's really cool. Yeah, I just sent this out to a bunch of people, not that many actually. So I don't know, and it's a last minute thing, and it's in the middle of a lot of people's day. So I don't know how many people are actually going to show up, but I'll just keep chatting. Hi, Carface. Hi, Andrea. All right. Well, I'm live. I'm just going to kick off. So this is very unscripted, and I think if I did it right, I put it on. Hi there. I've put it on public, so maybe also some people who aren't aware of the free video series that I released are here as well. So in case that's 1 or 2 people, I'll just give a really brief intro. Like I'll keep it to like a few minutes. But my name is Sebastiaan van der Schrier. I'm from the Netherlands, and I'm a former social anxiety sufferer and a social confidence coach. And what I do is I help people overcome their social anxiety so you can feel relaxed and calm in social situations. And I do that using a particular technique called EFT. It stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. It looks really silly because you're tapping with the tips of your fingers on specific acupressure points in the body. And when you see this for the first time, you probably think, yeah, right. But it's actually scientifically proven to be effective, and it's really great for releasing excessive negative emotions. And your social anxiety consists of a lot of excessive negative emotions, stress, anxiety, fear, worry, concern, shame, embarrassment, all of that. And so you can use that technique to actually step by step get rid of your social anxiety. Now, that's what I've been able to do myself with the help of some brilliant therapists. I definitely didn't do that all alone. And I started doing that maybe like 10 years ago or 12 years ago when I first found out about it. And then in 2009, I started coaching people using this technique. And eventually, I created a program that used this technique to overcome social anxiety. That program I've been updated and updated and updated. And a couple of years ago, maybe 2 years ago, I wanted to work on a final update. And I realized there were a couple of things, essential things missing in that program. And that was like support for people on their journey, and for people to be able to interact, as well as people reported that the things that I was explaining to them were sometimes too complex. So I simplified these psychological concepts with animated videos, and I've created an online community, and I've been introducing people to that community over the past 2 weeks. And the first video of that can be found at that link that I just posted, in case you haven't seen it yet. And people have questions about that and some questions in general. So if you have a question about that community, you can just post it there in the chat, and I'll get to it. Here, I'm just going to quickly go over the frequently asked questions that I get a lot, and I'll just answer them rapid fire, top of my head. Hi, Sarah. This is really cool, by the way. I've never done this. It really gives me a bit of a feeling of, there's live something coming back to me other than just shooting a video. Because normally I'm talking to the screen, and I'm like, all right, well, this is going to be a video. It's going to be 15 minutes long. I'm sending it over to my manager. She's going to put it up on YouTube, and I'm kind of done with it, and see some comments under it, and I reply to the comments. This is like I get direct feedback. So pretty cool. So, if you have brilliant questions, Let's hear them. All right, so first one, how long does it take to overcome my social anxiety? That's probably the most common question that I get. And it's not a question that I can answer accurately because every person is unique and every person's history is unique and how their social anxiety manifests is unique. Some people, they have no problem with authority. Other people have a massive problem with authority. Some people are fine one-on-one, but have problems in groups. Some people are fine in groups, but they have problems one-on-one. Some people are fine when they're around their family. Other people are terrified when they're around their family. Some people are okay meeting strangers, but they're in trouble with close people that they're close with their friends. And other people are terrified meeting strangers. So it's a bit different how social anxiety manifests itself. And it's also different how long it takes to overcome your social anxiety. A better question would be, how far can I come? How much progress can I make? And how fast can I make that progress? And that I can also not really answer for you. I can just give you the averages. So I've worked with hundreds of people, literally. I've been working as a full-time coach since 2009, and I've only worked with socially anxious people. So I kind of know the averages of what it is these days. Back then in 2009, I didn't know as well what I was doing, of course. I've constantly grown and improved as a coach, studied, gotten training, gotten mentoring, gotten coaching, did workshops all over the world, constantly educated myself. And so now it's roughly 35% of the people that I work with, in the coaching with coaching sessions that last 90 minutes, 35% of them solve their social anxiety in three sessions. So that's 3 weeks, and that's often long-standing social anxiety. That's not something they developed a couple of months ago. That's something they've been dealing with for years. So this stuff is really powerful, and that is possible. However, other people, there's 65% left, I work with over a period of time. So that's a lot longer than 3 sessions. Might be 6 sessions, might be 10 sessions. And people that are really in a bad way, I might work with them for 6 months or even longer. And that is Skype coaching. So it takes as long as it takes. However, you'll start to make progress quickly once you start to apply the tapping to the right targets in the right way. And you actually start getting relief pretty much instantly. And you can start to reduce your social anxiety within, a week, couple of weeks. So that's really amazing when you think about it. So if you put in 30 minutes of tapping, and you tap on the right targets in the right way, which is what we go through in the community, you'll start to make really good progress, and you will start to gain more emotional control. You start to feel more at ease. You're not. This might sound weird, but you're not as bothered by your anxiety anymore. You're more easygoing, and that's what starts to happen. All right, let me just answer this question that's come up. Is the course using EFT only? As I know you have discussed many other energy modalities as well on your podcast. It's mainly tapping. However, there are 2 other techniques that are in there as well. One is logosynthesis, and another you'll hear about at some point. Because I have yet to interview the founder of it on my podcast. He's actually a friend and a colleague of mine, but I might only get him to be inside the community and share that with our people. But I'll have to see. I'll have to first ask him, but I'm sure he wants to share. So there's a bit more, but the foundation of it is the tapping. Cool, thanks for your question. All right, so next question. Why is EFT not working for me? Well, could be a variety of things going on. I actually, the second video of this free video series goes into detail about that. Let me just share the link here. as real quick, I go over, yeah, no worries. Let's quickly go over some of the main reasons. One, it's a complex issue. When you have social anxiety for a long time, it starts to link itself to many areas of your life. And it's not just the social anxiety that's the problem. You also have feelings about your social anxiety. So you're socially anxious, and then you're frustrated that you can't overcome it. And then you feel ashamed that you have it and others don't. And maybe you're jealous of others because you see that they can just be themselves and you cannot. And maybe you have fear that you'll never overcome it. Maybe you feel down that you're dealing with it. So all of these feelings add on top of the problem. Then usually you judge yourself. Oh, I'm such a loser for having this. I shouldn't have this. And you have this inner dialogue about the problem. And that all just locks it in place, makes it more complex. Then there's resistance to letting go of the problem. Some part of you thinks that you need the anxiety because it believes that it is protecting you from getting hurt. And so, or rejected or embarrassed or ashamed. And so there's resistance that needs to be addressed. And then it's not just one belief that causes the perception of danger, which activates the fight, flight, freeze response, which results in the social anxiety symptoms. There are usually a variety of beliefs, and these beliefs have their origins in the past. Well, how do you find these past experiences? What are the right experiences? How do you get to these places? What are all the resistance that you need to overcome? So it can be quite a complex issue if you don't know what you're doing. And if you just know, okay, well, I've got tapping, so I should just tap on my social anxiety, it's quite complex. That's why I've broken it down. So that's one. The other thing is you're not overcoming the resistance, which I already mentioned. The third one is that you're not dealing with all the aspects of the problem. So your social anxiety consists of a certain amount of aspects, certain amount of parts. So you can break it down into smaller and smaller parts. And unless you've dealt with all of the parts, you're not anxiety free. So your anxiety can keep coming up. But as you say that you have 100 aspects that make up your social anxiety, as you address 10 of them, your social anxiety is going to be less strong. And it's going to show up in less situations. It's the cool thing about this. Every time you get triggered and you resolve a trigger, you won't get triggered in that situation next time if you do it correctly. And so you become less and less anxious, less and less frequently, and you become more and more okay with yourself, with your feelings, with who it is that you are. It's actually not just your anxiety that you're working on. You're working on being safe, feeling safe to be you. So you're working on self-acceptance. You're working on self-esteem. You're working on getting rid of perfectionism patterns. You're working on being okay with what others think of you, so that doesn't bother you anymore. So it's a comprehensive approach to social confidence. All right. I see some questions. No, it's weird, but I feel so anxious and shameful doing this because I'm so afraid people know about my social anxiety. It's like everybody in the whole world will know. I think this is one big issue. Yeah, Maria. Maybe I've told this before, but how I actually found out about personal development, or maybe not about personal development, but at some point in my life, I think it was like 16 or 17, I was really ashamed of the fact that I couldn't get laid to save my life, or that I was so nervous and anxious around attractive girls. And there was an online test that showed up on my computer somehow, and it said, hey, how satisfied are you with your dating life? And it was like A, B, and C, like multiple choice. And A was, oh, very satisfied, and B was not satisfied at all, and C was could be better. And I remember choosing could be better because I was like, oh, what if someone finds out? And that's a very common experience. When I set up this whole free video series, there was an option to put Facebook chat under it. But I know nobody's going to want to admit that they're watching videos about how to overcome their social anxiety, because for everyone it's a big secret. uh, you know, most people in the world, social anxiety or not, they want to come across like they're cool, like everything is fine, like they don't have any problems. Everyone pretends that everything's fine all the time, but it's not. But when you have social anxiety, that's exaggerated. And then when there's shame of your social anxiety, it just makes things worse. Anyway, thanks for your input. Yusuf, while I get into my tapping, I get angry and upset. Although I don't get instant relief, should I continue tapping to release the anger over a few rounds? Yes, whatever comes up for you, that's what you focus on. So if you're tapping on your social anxiety, but you feel angry that you're tapping on and it doesn't work, then you focus on the anger. Yeah. Hi, Patrick. How's it going? All right, so I'm going to race through the questions next. So, by the way, let me just finish that. Why is EFT not working for me? So, aspects, you haven't resolved all the aspects. You're dealing with subconscious resistance. It's too complex to overcome. And there are more reasons, and I suggest you watch that video because I don't know at the top of my head. All right, next. Oh, and one thing I wanted to point out that's quite important. So, why is EFT not working for me? Some people, they need more than just EFT. They need more than just tapping. So tapping is very effective in order to release excessive emotions. But for some people, they simply need to work with a therapist. And so a therapist, a good therapist that is, will help you build up yourself from the inside. It will help you become more emotionally solid, more emotionally resilient. There's a negative stigma about therapy that you're forever talking about your past, and you're lying on the couch and you're just regurgitating all these past experiences, and it's forever talking, you never get any results. That's what I thought, but that's totally not true. If you find a great therapist, man, that is so worth your time, money, and effort. It is really a beautiful relationship that you build up with these people. My mentor is a psychotherapist, and I've had tremendous benefit in working with him. So, if you're not able to overcome your social anxiety, that might be because you're dealing with more than just social anxiety. You might have, you might have depression. You might have, um, obsessive compulsive disorder or some kind of personality disorder. It's all scary labels, but if you're dealing with a particular problem, you need to get the right help for that particular problem. And some people have social anxiety, but they have another compounding issue that's actually bigger than the social anxiety. And so these people need to see a therapist rather than, join my community. All right, next. Yeah, see, Norbert to Yusuf, I have the same issue. Yeah, continue to get angry and upset. Although I don't get instant relief, should I continue tapping or releasing the anger over a few rounds? Yes, and what you might also want to do is, like, as you tap, instead of trying to get rid of your anger, just tap and allow the anger to be there and just let it be there. Observe the anger, notice it, keep tapping. You don't have to say anything. You can express your feelings if you want to, but just let it go. Or just see what happens, because emotions come and they rise and they fall at some point. So just put your attention on it and you just allow the feelings to be there and you just see what they do. Okay. All right. That said, I'm not going to solve everyone's tapping problems here in this call. This call is to talk about the community and answer questions about that. But thanks for your question. I get drawn in. Okay, so can I use EFT to beat my social anxiety on my own? Typically, no. You'll be able to, you'll be able to reduce it a bit, but like my mentor says as well, for the most stuck and stubborn problems, we all need some help in life. And if it requires a lot more than just adding tapping to some of the aspects. You need to understand your own psychology. You need to understand the psychology of change. You need to understand how to apply the tapping properly. And that's a whole study. So, you know, not likely. Will it be hard or painful to overcome my social anxiety? No. It will be challenging in that it won't happen overnight, but it's not hard or painful. You'll experience negative emotions, but when they come up, you can do the tapping, and that will help you work through them. They're just going to be there temporarily. So, for example, when you think of a particular past experience, you might relive some of those feelings, but it's only for a short time, and you only do that to bring them up so you can tap them out or release them, get rid of the excessive negative emotions. All right. I feel intense anxiety in case my family hears me talking out loud while tapping about my social anxiety in my room. They may think I'm really weird or having a breakdown. Is there any way to lessen this intensity? Yes, that's the first thing you focus on. Oh, I'm afraid that they're going to walk in. Oh, yeah, I'm terrified that they're going to walk in. And that anxiety is actually going to stay there because, there's going to be resistance. So you might want to tap on, I don't want to feel calm right now. It's not safe to relax about this. I can't let this go. I have to be anxious about my mom and dad coming in. All right? Cool. I don't know. Sorry, I can't do anything about the stream. I hope it's not for everyone. All right, next. Do I have to face my fears? Yes and no. Let's start with no. No, you don't have to force yourself to push yourself into scary situations and prove that you can do it and that kind of stuff. Yes, you do need to look at your fears and see why they're there. So if you're afraid of rejection intensely, much more than other people, then there's something that has happened that caused that to be. So you go back to where you learned that. So maybe your dad was very critical and you wanted his approval, but you didn't get it. And so you easily felt rejected around him. Well, that's where a lot of healing needs to happen in order to heal that emotional wound that makes you so vulnerable, so fragile when it comes to rejection. Okay, so you face that fear. But when you heal that emotional wound, then you can address the fear with tapping, and then you no longer have that fear of rejection. It's a beautiful process, really. All right, does tapping work as a result of the placebo effect? No. Placebo means you have to believe in it for it to work. Doctor gives you a sugar pill, tells you it's the magic cure for your problem or ailment. You take the pill, and because you believe in it, it works. But if you actually knew that it was a sugar pill, it wouldn't work. That's the placebo effect. That's not what tapping. Most people don't know, or most people don't believe that tapping on your face and body is actually going to work. But it's scientifically proven to be effective. And most people don't believe that it works. But as they do the tapping, they start to feel their emotions shift, and so it it breaks their belief that it doesn't work. Okay. Do I have to tap in public and look foolish? No. I tap in public, but you can do the finger tapping, and you can take that with you, and you can hide it in your pocket. You can hide it in your pocket and still do the tapping. You can do it behind your back. You can do like this and tap there. You can do it under the table, whatever. And I've gone to the toilet many times to tap out my anxiety. All right, do I have to do this tapping every day? Yes, especially in the beginning. You're going to want to make it a habit and become comfortable with doing it. But it's going to be very easy because every time you do it, you're going to feel relief. You're going to feel better. So you're like, wow, I finally have something to manage my emotions. So in the beginning, I recommend 15 or 30 minutes of directed tapping exercises a day. Are results permanent? Yes, if you do it in the right way. If you just tap on the symptoms of the problem, then no. Because, if you experience anxiety in the moment, if you experience it right now, your heart is racing, you have a lump in your throat, tightness in your chest or stomach, maybe you're sweating, maybe you're nervous, maybe you feel a fear of getting judged, and you start tapping on these symptoms, then say that the symptoms are, your anxiety, if we just label the symptoms as anxiety, might be a 7 out of 10. You do some tapping, you might get it down to a 5 or a 4, and you're like, hey, that's great, I feel a bit better. But then the next time, same situation comes up and the anxiety is back, right? Well, that is because you haven't addressed the underlying reasons for why that anxiety comes up. You haven't looked at the beliefs that cause you to not feel safe in this situation. And you haven't looked at, well, where do these beliefs come from? And you haven't addressed the core experiences where those beliefs were born. When you do that, then results are permanent. Okay. So a belief like, I'm not good enough, for example, feels really true. But if you just tap on the belief, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, it might feel a little bit less true, but you actually need to address where you learned that belief. So you might have an experience when you're 7 years old and your dad scolded you and it really hurt you. That's an experience that is emotional evidence that supports that belief that you're not good enough. You might be 12 years old and you have a particular performance and you fail at it. Boom, another piece of evidence that you're not good enough. These pieces of evidence will need to be addressed. Once these pieces of evidence are addressed, the belief just falls down. It's not relevant anymore. Okay. Okay, I'll take some of the questions here. Morocco sounds more exotic to me because I lived in South Africa. How much do we interact with you in the community? How do we communicate? Is there one-on-one feedback calls or interaction with you? So there's a weekly webinar with me where I'll take questions and answers and where I'll do some guided tapping with people. So you go through particular modules. Did I read out the question? How much do we interact with you in the community? How much do we communicate? Is there one-on-one feedback or calls or interaction with you? So the way this works is every 48 hours, you'll receive a video that's between 5 and 30 minutes long, usually 15 minutes. And after that, you get a particular tapping exercise to do. So step by step, you're learning more tapping, and you're applying it directly to your social anxiety problem, directly to the right targets. And then we have a forum where there's questions and answers regarding that particular video. So if there are any questions, I'll be there in the forum answering that. And then every week we have a live webinar where you ask any questions that you have. I'll answer all of the questions, and I'll take volunteers to work through that particular topic of the week. So actually be guiding people through tapping exercises, and you see people shift on screen. It's going to be really cool. It's really exciting. I don't know of anyone who's doing that, so I'm kind of excited that I'm going to pioneer with that. So people are going to get real cool transformation, and you can tap along with that because you're going to be able to relate to the person on screen who deals with these particular issues, and you're going to get benefits because you're tapping on the same issues. And it's going to be very inspiring to see people make transformations. It's going to give you a feeling like, oh, I can do this too. Great. Cool. All right. Thanks for your question. The stream is breaking up a lot. Not sure if it's just me though. So far, yeah. I wish I could do something about it. Technology, don't get me started on it. I've had, you see these bags under my eyes. That's from all the stress of dealing with the technology in the last 2 weeks. It's been quite a shitstorm. I already signed up for the community, but then I realized I don't feel much when I try to tap, and I got scared and hopeless that this won't help me that much. And I don't consider myself a tough case. All right, well, Alexandra, I know you recommend one-on-one therapy for these cases. So is the online community going to still help me? You're going to still be helpful if I can only get a therapist after these 6 months. Well, I'd say you have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Try it out and see what happens. I don't feel much when I try to tap, and I got scared and hopeless that this won't help me that much. Well, scared and hopeless are feelings that are coming up for you. So you are feeling things. It just, don't worry. You'll be guided through this, okay? You're going to be fine. And uh, I don't, yes, I recommend for people that are totally disconnected from their emotions and don't feel any emotions at all that they see a therapist. But it's not as black and white as, you're not able to tune into your emotions properly, so go see a therapist. Okay, it's a bit more complicated than that. But in your case, I think, oh yes, no, it's getting hot in there. In your case, just try it out and see what happens. Okay, emotions are coming up for you. It's there in your comment. So there's plenty of stuff to tap on. That's actually, these are the common emotions that we address in the first module. Okay, well, I'm afraid that it won't work. I'm scared. I feel hopeless about this. Those are all emotions that add on to the problem. So there's the social anxiety problem. Let me just make a quick diagram for you. So there's the social anxiety that you see. That's the core of the problem. But then around it is kind of like a wall. I hope you can see this. Let me see if I can see it. Yeah. So there's a wall around this social anxiety problem. And that's a wall of non-acceptance of your problem. It's the resistance to the problem. And that resistance, that wall, consists of feelings and judgments. And one of the feelings is, I'm afraid that I can't overcome this. I feel hopeless about this. So those are tappable issues. All good. All right, Caroli, calorie snake. All right, there you go. Do our body and our body cells have memory of negative limiting beliefs? If yes, can it be resolved by using EFT? To be honest, I don't know. I don't know if they have memory of negative limiting beliefs. All I know is that limiting beliefs can be addressed very effectively with tapping. Yes. Go into phone streaming fine. No, it must have been my computer. Okay, great. Apparently faster EFT is more efficient and direct technique, so why don't you try it as it's quicker? I haven't gotten any results since subconscious change is scary and dangerous, so tapping not work. Yeah, I'm not the. I've studied all the faster EFT DVDs actually, and there are some helpful techniques in it, but I didn't. While I've studied all of it, I don't use any of it in my coaching. It's not about fancy techniques. It's about aiming it at the right targets. That's really what it's about. And faster EFT, no, it's not about faster EFT. It's about better EFT. And I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. Okay, so back to the frequently asked questions. What if I don't know what started my social anxiety? That's fine. Most people don't know. It's different for different people what starts their social anxiety. And for, I don't know, maybe 50% of the people, it's the repetitive negative experiences that already started their social anxiety. So they've been anxious for pretty much their whole life. And there's not really a specific experience that kickstarted it for them. I had a happy childhood. Why am I socially anxious? Well, people often think that they had a happy childhood, but when I then dig a bit deeper, I find that they were compared to their older sister and they never measured up, so they felt insecure. The belief that they weren't good enough was formed, or maybe their mom was strict, and so she felt the client feels that they never lived up to the expectations, or maybe they had some kind of a difficult operation, and that was a traumatic experience, but overall their childhood was good. And it's that traumatic experience that kickstarted them feeling that there's something wrong with them or something not okay with them. And it doesn't have to have started in your childhood. For some people, it starts, at the end of their puberty and sometimes in their 20s. So, but there's something that kickstarts it. You're not born with it. Okay, will this really work for me? Typically, yes. Okay, it's the long and short of it. If you've been socially anxious for a long time, it can seem like, man, how can I ever overcome this? Because this is me. I'm so used to feeling this way. How can I ever not feel this way? Well, when we have a problem for a long time, we start to identify ourselves with it, and we can't imagine not having it. But and especially then if you try things and it doesn't work, and you're told that, well, this is going to work, and then it doesn't work, you then lose a bit of hope. You try another thing and it's supposed to work and it also doesn't work. Now your hope is even less. Now it's even scarier to get your hopes up, because every time you try something you get crushed again. So it's really painful to get your hopes up, and then you become quite pessimistic about trying anything. But what you've tried in the past has been different from this. This is a totally different approach, because we don't just look at the logical side of social anxiety. We, for the most part, look at the emotional side of social anxiety. And social anxiety is not a logical problem. You can't talk yourself out of your anxiety. Try it. I'm sure you have tried it. You're anxious and you tell yourself, oh, it's okay. They actually like me. I'm fine. Nothing is wrong. Might calm it down a little bit, if that, but it's not solving your social anxiety. Your brain is reacting emotionally. You're so activated. You need to look at the emotional problem of it, the negative beliefs and the emotions connected to these beliefs. That's what needs to be addressed. Okay. Let's see if we have some more questions. Yeah, no worries, Andrea. I think you're gonna be pleasantly surprised about the changes that are up and coming. So cool. What do you do when you don't relate to anyone around you and you develop an inferiority complex? Okay, that's not really related to the community so much. And I'm not really here to provide personal coaching, but I'll answer it. Hello, Michelle. Nice to see you. um, However, what do you do when you don't relate to anyone around you and you develop an inferiority complex? Well, good question. I think that's quite common, actually, and it's something I've personally experienced quite a lot. I've lived in a lot of different countries. I live in Bali now. This is Bali, Indonesia. I lived in the Philippines and I lived in Thailand. And I've had many times I'm like, well, where do I belong, man? What's my tribe? What's my crew? What's my crowd? And yeah, I've often felt like, okay, well, I like entrepreneurial people, but they're a bit too, they're too much just about achievement and success, and they're not really spirit. They don't have much of a spiritual side to them. And then I'd be interested in spirituality, but I'm like, well, these spiritual people, they're, they have no practical side to them. They have no entrepreneurial spirit. They're too hippie for my taste. I can't relate to all that extreme woo-woo stuff. So I'm like, I don't belong to the entrepreneurs. I don't belong to the spiritual crew. Where do I fit in? But it's actually a journey of self-acceptance where you become okay with you and you know yourself really well and you just like yourself and you love yourself. And because you're okay with those parts of you, you're no longer projecting them, the parts that you don't like, onto other people so that you dislike other people. And then then you're fine. Like, I'm fine hanging out with the entrepreneurial crew. I'm fine hanging out with the more spiritual crew. And I've kind of found my balance within the two. So, most of my friends are entrepreneurial and they have a spiritual side to them. And that's like where I feel really good. That's where I feel really good. that's that's where I feel really good, and that's where I can relate really well, where I connect really well. I'm like, hey, you're very much like me. We have interesting conversations. I like your life. I like the person that you are. I can connect to you most easily. Um, yeah, and then the inferiority, that's a feeling, and that's a tappable issue. Okay, so that might come from, well, they're better than me and I'm less than them. Okay, well, you learned that somewhere. You don't come out as a baby with an inferiority complex, so that's a tappable issue. Right, I just signed on. I might have missed what you said earlier about the community. Could you please post the recording of this video? If I can make it happen, I will. I don't know if this is actually recorded. Um, I hope it is, but we will see. I'll just repeat it for you, Michelle, about the community. What it's, this is one of the questions as well. What can I expect of the community? And that is that, well, for one, it's going to be very exciting. We're going to have a group of people all working towards a particular outcome, social confidence, getting rid of this freaking social anxiety so we can free ourselves and live a life where we're at ease with ourselves. And how we're going to go about that is, we have the 10 modules that we go through, and each month, roughly, sometimes it's more than a month, sometimes it's just a week or 2 weeks that we work through one of the modules. But the modules are broken up into smaller pieces. So module 1, for example, create awesome emotional control or incredible emotional control, is broken down into smaller parts. It's actually 15 videos and 30 tapping exercises. So every 48 hours, you get a new video where I teach you a little bit more tapping that you can then, and a little bit more about your inner world and the psychology of change, and and then you get 2 tapping exercises to specifically apply to chip a little bit off of your social anxiety problem, and you get a new tool to use for the coming, period. So I'm not overwhelming you with information. I'm just giving you enough. And in all of these videos, I continuously keep you motivated by giving you the right perspective to deal with the problems that are inevitably gonna come up for you. Then there's a forum where you'll have support from the other people on it who are going through the same program as you at the same time. So after each video, the video will be posted in the forum, so there can be a discussion about that particular video. Questions can be asked. I'll be in there answering all the questions, and so there's no confusion about what's going on. You won't get stuck because you get pretty much instant. Well, you gotta allow me some sleep, but you get pretty much instant answers to your questions. So you'll have clarity, you won't make mistakes, you're doing it right. And then at the end of the week, roughly every week, we'll have, sometimes it might take 5 days, sometimes it might take 8 days, but roughly every week, we'll have a live webinar where I go over what we learned in the past week. So say the previous 3 lessons of the week, give a little bit of a summary, and then we go into some questions and answers, and then I'll take volunteers to guide them through 20-minute tapping session regarding what we've learned that week. So, you really learn step by step the tapping, and that's the beauty, you immediately apply it to your social anxiety issues. So that's what I can say about it. Okay, cool. Thanks for your question. All right. No worries, Yuko. Hope that was helpful. This is going to be it. I will, unless anyone has a final question, I'm going to close this off. So I'll wait for, I'll keep blabbering on for about 30 seconds. And if there's no final question, I'm going to go to bed. It's midnight here. I'm tired. It's done already. I just got in though. Yeah, Patrick, sorry. I'm talking for 45 minutes. Yes, there's a 30-day money back guarantee. Exactly. Uh, it's even though I've been giving you so much information in these 4 videos, it's like 5 or 6 hours of content. And I hope that it has shifted your perspective about what's possible, and it held up a more empowered feeling and a more of a realization that, hey, this is actually a problem that you can break down into smaller pieces and tackle with this tapping technique. Even though that's the case, people likely still have the, well, it's too good to be true, or this probably doesn't work for me, or I don't think that I can actually overcome this. And that's common. My psychotherapist, my mentor, Dr. David Lake, he says that particular belief that it won't work for you will start to crumble when you start to make results. So it's the same actually when you start a business. So when I started my business, I was excited about trying it out, but I thought, it's probably not going to work. It's too good to be true. Sounds so great to have that. But then when I started getting my first clients and I started making my first money, I was like, wow, this works. Oh my God. And that starts to shift your belief as well. So, yes, there's a 30-day money back guarantee just because it's standard and basic anyway, but it's also, I want you to give this a go. If you're really committed to doing this and you're actually going to do the exercise that I'm going to suggest to you, then it's highly likely that you're going to get amazing results. And I know that those results will make you want to stick around and get more of it in the subsequent modules. So yes, you have a 30-day money back guarantee. Solid. um, Supermeal asked a question. Oh, okay. Thanks for that. I didn't see that. For letting go of subconscious resistance, do you just say what the fear negative belief is and tap? How to know when finished letting subconscious resistance go? Well, you don't really know unless you can do muscle testing. But so sorry, let me be more clear. How do you know when you finish letting subconscious resistance go? Typically, you don't know unless you can do muscle testing. I won't go into what that is, but you can Google it. But basically, there is a generalized approach to overcoming resistance, and I've guided you through that in the second free videos of the video series. So go back there, and that in 85% of the cases, maybe more, gets rid of the resistance that you're dealing with. So because that percentage is so high, you can kind of assume, okay, well, my resistance is gone. And the other very clear thing is, well, is your number decreasing? If your number is not decreasing, you're either still dealing with resistance, or you need to look at, well, is this feeling that I'm tapping on, is that a current feeling, or is this actually a feeling of an earlier memory? And do I need to get back to that earlier memory? Okay, hope that's helpful. Da, 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 da. Is it wrong not to feel any shame all the time? No. uh, Shame means, guilt is kind of like, I've done something wrong. And shame is kind of like, I am wrong. And if you have a deep sense of self-shame, well, that's very unfortunate, but it's also not normal, not natural. Like, babies are not ashamed of themselves. They poo in their diapers, and they pee all over the place, and they eat like a slob, and they don't they don't feel ashamed of themselves. So no, it's normal. Okay. All right. Thank you, Seb. Quick question: is there some new info in there compared to the social confidence system, or is it mostly similar, but the value is the community? Thank you for that question. I was going to get into that. It is based on the same foundation of the social confidence system. However, it is far more advanced, renewed, and yes, there's there's quite a lot of new information in there, and there is the it's basically, it's not just packaged up in a nicer jacket and presented in a different format. There's a lot more to it, so it's a lot more involved. Okay, thanks for answering my questions. How important is defining your new life vision or identity? Well, quite important. It's nice to it's nice to know where you're going and focusing on that, because then you have something to focus on, something to return to. That's your pulling force. That's what you're going after. What do I do to keep if I drop out of the community after a month or two? Man, it's a good question. I don't know. I um I have not thought of that. I think nothing. Um, yeah, I'll have to think about that. When you're in the community, you're participating in a step-by-step program. Um, I don't know, actually. I'll have to think about that. Sorry, I don't know that answer yet. It's a good question, though. Great question. Thank you for your answer. I was worried because I don't get embarrassed easily, even when I mess things up socially. Thought it isn't normal. Yeah, I don't know. Good for you, I think. Yeah. No, okay. All right. Well, thank you all for being here. This is my first Facebook Live. This is my first live chat. I'm happy all the technical things worked out. I hope it actually recorded. If it wasn't, then yeah, well, too bad. And yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for your questions, and yeah, stay tuned. If you're interested in the community, you haven't signed up yet, boom, that's where you get the link. Did I post that up there? I think I did. Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm sorry, I've been swamped. I will get back to you. Yeah, I got your email. I got your email. I will get back to you. All right, thanks, people. It's lovely. I love this. This is going to be very exciting. It's a lot cooler to have direct interaction with people. So excited about this. Thank you all, and have a good day. And we will be in touch. Bye for now. Bye. Thanks, Maria. Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, Jurid. Thanks, Fool Sir and 2046. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Norbert. Thanks, Yukos. And thanks, Calorie Snake. Thanks, Patrick C. You're a good person too. All right. Bye for now.